Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining me and my very special guest. You know her from her Tony Award-winning turn as Yitzhak in the iconic Tony Award-winning musical Hedwig and the Angry Inch. She is also a Grammy nominee and is currently one of the stars of the TNT series Snowpiercer. And this Friday night, she kicks off her series Obsessed 2020 exclusively at Broadway World. Please welcome my friend, Lena Hall.
Hello.
I am loving that microphone. Look at your setup.
Thank you. I am living in the virtual space now, so I'm doing virtual performances and I'm loving it. So I'm really looking forward to this show. You got to come to one of my shows. They're very interactive. The Alanis show is going to have there's two different types of tickets because the thing that for me is tough with live stream theater is that you're watching it and you don't get to really interact. You get to interact with your patrons on chat and stuff like that, but you might as well watch a recording.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot that's going on that is like the theater. Um, so what I love to do is I like to do these concerts on Zoom. And basically, I have my entire audience in front of me. I can see them responding. I do quizzes. I talk to people personally. I want to make sure that the audience knows that this is live, that it's one-on-one, that it gets more personal that way. And I feel that the energy then increases, the energy level of the performance then increases, and it becomes this kind of community after a while. And so, I wanted to bring that flavor to Broadway World and bring that flavor to my Obsessed concerts. So I'm really excited and to see how it all kind of shakes out and goes. But this is first of many.
Well, you've taken this to a whole new level. I mean, people do live concerts, but I love that you interact with the fans. I mean, that's so great to do it that way.
Yeah, it's a way to break this internet wall and have a real conversation with someone. Acknowledge that they're there, to know that they're in a space live with other people. It really does help in this time. And I think it's super important for us to do that as performers, because as performers we are used to taking problems away from people. They can go to a theater and get out of their life for 2.5 hours or 2 hours, whatever the show length may be. They can get away from it all, right? And when you're at home and watching a screen, it's a little different. So it's got to have a lot more, there's got to be a lot more interaction. And the cool thing is that what's different with live theater or like a live concert is that I'll see a sea of people and I'll see them and I'll hear them respond, but it's not as personal. This way, I actually don't hear any response.
Yeah.
So I'll finish a song and I don't hear clapping or anything like that, but I can actually personally talk to people and get to know people one-on-one, which is very, very different and very interesting. So it's like your own personal living room concert just happening right there for you. And I think that is a way to kind of elevate the streaming so that it is feeling it feels like its own thing, and celebratory and fun. And while live theater will definitely come back, nothing compares to going to a venue and seeing someone in person. In this now space of streaming, I'm able to actually meet fans that have never been able to come to one of my concerts. Now they can come and experience something very similar, So it's pretty cool, and I really, really I've been enjoying it.
See, that's what I love because, like you said, you can have fans from all around the world who, like you said, might not have been able to come to New York to see you in a venue or somewhere, but now they can see you this way.
Yeah, it's like doing a tour without
Yeah.
moving, without anyone needing to get up out of their seats. They can be in the comfort of their own home And I always make sure to, stress the importance of listening either on good speakers or on a headphones. If you can stream it to your TV, that's so much better than watching on your computer. I always say don't watch on your phone. Like there's ways to get the experience where it's more elevated than just your computer and your computer speakers. And if you have the capacity to do that, headphones make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And also when you're able to watch on a bigger screen, it's like I'm right there in your living room coming out of the screen right at you. So it's fun. It's an interesting experience. That is if you want me to come out of your screen like into your living room.
Oh, we all want that. I love that you're now entering people's living rooms because, this is sort of the return of your popular 2018 series, sort of turned in a whole different direction.
Yeah, I love Obsessed. I want to do a season 2. This
Yeah.
is a great way to kind of benchmark what artists I would do for like a season 2 album release. My guitarist this time around, I actually I put out a Facebook message early on in quarantine, and I said, "Is there anyone out there any guitarists out there who just kind of want to do a song with me?" And this guy responded, Daniel Polisi, and he's a fan of mine. And like he knows all my stuff from my band and all kinds of stuff. So he was like, sure, yeah, let's do it. And we did like a couple Alanis songs, and then which never were released because I got really busy doing other things, unfortunately. But then I was like, oh my God, he is amazing and an amazing performer, and I would have never have met him had I not had this random like, hey, guitarist, anyone interested in, doing something while we're in quarantine? And so yeah, so this guy is great, and I really like that, it's we met through quarantine,
I
like
love because you know what I knew when I was going to be sitting with you. I'm like, who is Daniel? Because I always try to find, the connection. And I'm like, I love that you just reached out to somebody new.
yeah, he reached out. He was interested because he saw
Wow.
my post. And then I'm lucky to have someone like that who's devoted, and he will get paid for sure because he's doing a hell of a lot of work. It's tough because this is very different than live shows. I can't
Yeah.
have a live band yet. I mean, I could outside, but right now, it's there's no live band, so he's gotta lay down a bunch of tracks for me to sing to, and that's a whole other scope of work. So for him to do that, I am indebted. So it's tough to find someone who's just gonna go ahead and do that. And but I do have a plethora of amazing musicians. This is just the first of the series for let's call it beta, season 2 beta. I did a season 1 beta with Justin Craig, and that was super fun. And then Warner Shikaboom Records, they were like, hey, we're interested. So then that's how the whole Alpha 2018 came about. So going back to the beta program of it and figuring that out, and then we'll, I'm sure, do another Alpha season 2.
I love that though. So, this Friday night, August 14th at 9 p.m., the series Lena Hall Obsessed, Alanis Morissette, the live streaming concert kicks off as a BroadwayWorld Events exclusive. I mean, I love that you're offering two different things. You're offering a $15 ticket for people to watch the concert only, but then there's that $40 VIP ticket, which we started to talk about. I mean, they get to be in the Zoom room with you, like you said. There's, I
Yeah.
think, an extra post-performance number or something maybe happening.
They'll get an extra 3 songs, and then we'll talk. So it's like a Q&A and fun times, it's like the after party. So it's a start. It's kind of an idea to try and get pricing. I still think that I can work on the pricing a little better. There are people who still can't afford a $15 ticket. So at some point I'll figure something out. Right now, this is the first one. So we're kind of stepping and trying to tread and see, what we can do, what we can't do. and kind of gauge the audience and the general experience. But further down the line, I would like to be able to include more people. I'll do more giveaways, and but this is the first one, so this is our trial and error. This is like, this is to see if the Broadway World audience is going to be, really into this, and then also to gauge ticket pricing as well.
Oh, I think the Broadway World audience is so into this. And, so, when everybody found out that I was going to be sitting with you and that this whole thing was happening, I mean, the message boards, like, people can't wait for this Friday night. I mean, this is big to see you like this. And I love your setup. I mean, first of all, where are you now? Where are you now? And where are you coming from to me today?
I'm in Connecticut. So my husband and I, we forewent a wedding and we bought a house instead.
Fabulous.
We were like, we'll just have people over. That's
Yeah.
that's our wedding. So we bought this house last year, and we're really thankful that we had it. We were able to be here for quarantine, and I've been here since March, and I've been getting so much stuff done on this house that I never thought I would get around to. And what's great is that the basement is giant. It has big, tall ceilings and has a lot of closets and a lot of rooms. So I'm able to actually have a permanent video studio as well as a little sound booth in one of the closets that I can record in and do these shows in. I mean, it's like I had some equipment sitting around from having to do self tapes at home for auditions, and I did a virtual. So what gave me the idea was I did this virtual premiere for Snowpiercer when it premiered in May, and they set up a whole green screen studio, all these lights, a really good HD camera, and then they had all the, it was like crazy. Someone was controlling my lights from California, someone was controlling the sound from Hawaii. It was wild. It was very elaborate. And I was like, oh, I have almost all of this equipment already just lying around. Like, I don't have the expensive version, but I have like the cheap Amazon version. I could probably put this together. And so all I did was fill in the blanks where I didn't have. And suddenly I'm able to do these shows and performances. And as time goes by, they get better and better. The sound gets better. The performing gets better because I'm getting more used to not having an audience sound, so it's different because you don't hear people applauding.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, what are
rehearsals?
them? Like, what have rehearsals been like? Because virtual is the new now. I've been speaking to a lot of people who are doing this, and you end a song, and usually at a Lena Hall concert, the place is going wild. And it's like,
we hope, yeah.
No, it's like, do you just stop and you're like, thank you very much?
Yes, yes. I'm like, thank you. Hi. Like you feel kind of awkward, but then you just move along.
Yeah.
And I've been getting more used to that. So kind of working on the rapport between the audience and the performer now is very different, but it's fun, and it also opens itself up to some very funny moments and quirky things, and I like that because it allows an audience to actually see me and for me to be real, because I'm comfortable in my home and I'm comfortable with them where they are. We're all comfortable with each other. So it becomes very much very personal, and it becomes very fun. So I'm really looking forward to Friday to see how this all works out.
So what I was going to ask you is, there are so many fabulous Alanis Morissette songs. How did you pick the set you were going to do?
I went off things that, I know from my childhood, that I'm like, must sing this, must sing this, must sing this, must sing this, must sing this. Right. And then I had, gaps to fill. So I actually went into her catalog and I reminded myself of all her music, and she's got so much amazing music. She's got some great new stuff coming out, and, actually just came out. And so there's no better way to like celebrate her new albums. She was a really big inspiration for me when I was a kid. I mean, she was saying all the things that I didn't know how to say, and
Yeah.
she was saying them in song, and all her angst was like my angst, like on the teenage level of her, her angst was my angst, but I was on the teenage level of that. And it was just like, that was such a clear moment in time for me. And also I felt like, you know, it's because of the coronavirus and everything that's been happening and how there's no Broadway and the Alana show, Jagged Little Pill was supposed to, did it open? I can't remember. I think
Yeah.
it had
Yeah.
opened, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
immediately closing. It's like, well, let's remind people like this music is amazing. This show is amazing. Like, don't forget this is happening and it will come back. So it's just to kind of like keep the ball rolling with some things. And she's just been her 25th anniversary for her first album came out, and so it was just a good time to kind of do this homage to her, and hopefully I do her proud.
She was the coolest person. I got to speak to her a lot opening night of Jagged Little Pill.
That's so cool.
Beforehand, for a great period, and at the party. She is so down to earth. She is so happy to be on Broadway, because the same thing like Sarah Bareilles. I was like, she's so excited about working, in the Broadway and working, how Broadway works and the theater creates and everything else. But she's just such a great down to earth, cool person.
Awesome. I love hearing that.
Yeah. So are rehearsals happening between you and Daniel? Like,
So rehearsals are basically he'll lay down the track,
yeah.
he'll send it to me, he'll go, "How do you feel about this? Any thoughts?" And I'll listen to it. And he's got such a great ear and great ideas that usually more often than not I'm like, "That's brilliant, great, we're done." So then
Great.
I take the track and I rehearse myself to the track. Sometimes I have to add background vocals, so I do that. I've learned how to use like Ableton, which is the music program. Like I've learned all these programs in quarantine, and I am grateful for my ever like my insatiable need to like produce stuff.
Yeah.
But like I'm always like I have to do something. And so like in quarantine, like I got some padding and I built a sound studio, and like I got a green screen and I built a studio, like, and I downloaded Ableton Live and I learned how
Yeah.
to use that. And like I'm learning how to use Zoom, and I'm learning how to use backgrounds and virtual this and that. And so I'm kind of really grateful for like my weird obsessive nature to just keep like producing stuff.
Is Jonathan the same way, or is he a yin to your yang? I mean, what's your husband like? I mean, is he got the same kind of energy you do?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
very much like, I got to get it done. I'm
Yeah.
out there. He's very proactive. We're both people who are extremely proactive in what we do. And instead of waiting for something to come to us, we're always
Yeah.
creating it for ourselves. Because, eventually things do come to you. It's just you have to fulfill yourself in ways that the business can't a lot of the times. And that was something I learned early on, not early on, actually. It was kind of probably like 9 years into my career.
Yeah.
I learned that, oh my God, this isn't going to check all the boxes for me. And I can't expect it to, because that's impossible. Even if I was at the highest level, it still would not check off all the boxes for me. So I've got to do some of this myself. And so that's when I joined a band, and
Yeah.
that's when I started doing outside projects, and then started performing in all these benefits. And like I was performing so much, and because it was something that I loved to do and I was filling my soul. So yeah, so like these creative projects, we're definitely Jonathan and I are definitely people who are very motivated in what we do, because we love what we do.
Yeah.
And we want to create that fulfillment for ourselves. And because we know that eventually the business will provide, as it has. And it's sporadic, but it has provided, so it'll keep providing. But at least we won't be banging our heads against the wall wondering, where's the next thing? What am I doing? This kind of stuff. So it's great.
Love it. Well, we have so much to talk about, but once again, Lena Hall will be live this Friday night, August 14th at 9 p.m. with Lena Hall, Obsessed, Alanis Morissette, exclusively here at Broadway World. Tickets for the concert only are $15, and there's a special VIP ticket for $40, which includes being with you. I'm so incredible. I love this. You're in the Zoom room with you for the event, as well as additional post-show performances and a virtual meet and greet. And the tickets are available at Broadway World Events. We have to also talk about Snowpiercer. What
Oh
an
yeah.
incredible series. I'm obsessed with this show you're on.
Thank you. I love it too.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming, and as time has gone by, I've fallen more and more in love with my
Yeah.
character. Because at first, the way things are written, you don't really know. It all kind of reveals itself over time, which I'm not used to. I'm used to the
Yeah.
Broadway way of doing things where you get a script,
Yeah.
and then you work on the script and things change, but you're basically doing the same, story, and you're understanding your character, and that, in that sense, and then you perform it, right? You're rehearsing it,
Yeah.
and then you perform it. With this, it was like rewrites the day before filming a scene, and you're like, I don't know, like it. So you're kind of discovering the character at the same time as the writers are. And we've already filmed most of season 2, so we're just waiting to finish up. And it's not that much to finish up too. And I personally, I love season 2. I
Yeah.
got so into it and had so much fun. I mean, I always end up really loving my characters. I loved Yitzhak. I
Yeah.
absolutely adored Nicola. I've loved these characters that I've gotten to play for a long period of time. And so this is the first time I've played a TV character for a long period of time, and have gotten to know and to really love her and her flaws and her, everything about her. It's just so fun. To watch a character develop, like to watch your own character develop that way, with input from yourself but also from the writers, so it's really cool.
See, that's what I love. Miss Audrey, that's not what you auditioned for originally, was it?
No, originally I was
Yeah.
a different character, and then there was a big changeover that happened, and they weren't, the role that I had been playing was kind of changed and then discarded. And they were like, well, what do we do? What do we do? And so they did some research on who they had, their cast, and they saw that, I perform and all this kind of stuff. And they were just like, well, there you go. So then they wrote the character and specifically, designed her to highlight what I do. So that's really cool. And I'm extremely grateful for that. And it's just, over time, it's gotten more and more fun. And yeah.
Well, tell everybody who may not have been turned on yet, Miss Audrey, I mean, you run the night car. I mean, you get to
Yeah.
sing these incredible songs. You like run third class. I mean, you love her, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Miss Audrey, she's mysterious too.
Yeah.
There's not a whole you don't know a ton about her, but you
Yeah.
know that there's a lot going on upstairs. She's got a lot going on, and she runs the night car, which was originally a brothel and a cabaret
Yeah.
space. But she, when the freeze happened, this train was invented not for a freeze, not for a global disaster. It was actually designed to take rich people around the world and to be kind of a place for debauchery and
Yeah.
extreme luxury. And so Miss Audrey, after the whole disaster happened, she found herself with the ability to make the car more purposeful, to make her time on Snowpiercer much more effective. And so she changed the brothel into kind of it's a hypnotist kind of therapist. So she can pull people into their past and help them let go of the grief and the loss and the fear and the pain, so that they can endure being on a train and enclosed in such tight quarters for a longer period of time. So she's basically like the go-to, like the
Yeah.
therapist of the train, you know. Not only that, she does entertain everyone, but I love that she is compassionate and she's empathetic. She does care deeply, and but she knows everyone on the train, so it is tough for her um when it comes time to kind of pick a side,
Yeah.
because she does know everyone very personally. She knows everyone's secrets. She knows everything. So it's I think that she's super complex and there's more to give, especially in season 2. So, but definitely everyone needs to watch the show.
Yeah.
You can binge watch it. It's on Netflix worldwide, and in the States it's on TNT. You can actually stream the whole show on TNT, or you can buy it all on iTunes, and there's ways to see it without having cable.
Got it. You get to sing some killer songs. Did you get to help
Yeah.
pick the songs that you sing?
They asked for my opinion and they were always like, nah, it was funny. And I was like, look, y'all know where you're going with this
Yeah.
more than I do. So you go for it. And I loved their song choices. I mean, I would have never in a million years, because I didn't even know those songs.
Yeah.
So Say It Ain't So Joe, which is an amazing song. I got to do an interesting arrangement of it. And people have been asking me to release it, as well as the Frank Ocean song Bad
Yeah.
Religion. And I want to, but I want to wait for the producers, because it's in their court. It's their property, and it's up to them first. If they drag their heels for a really long time, then eventually I will release them. But because I love to produce content,
Yeah.
and they would be my own covers. But yeah, I mean, the Say It Ain't So Joe song is just like an old classic folk tune, and that I'd never heard of before. And the lyrics are so crazy spot on, and they're very reflective of now as well.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting. History very much repeats itself. And the Frank Ocean song, which is called Bad Religion, is a beautiful song. I had to actually research the lyrics a bit, because I was confused, as were a lot of other people. It sounds like the song, when you read or when you listen to it, the lyrics kind of sound like it's saying that being Muslim is a bad religion, and but it's not. So essentially, Frank Ocean, who came out as gay, he's saying that I how can I love God, and as someone who, and they're telling me that God doesn't love me.
Yeah.
How is that possible? I cannot equate that. So he's basically talking about all religion, um and the confusion of that as being a gay man, and not seeing it reflected in his church and his religion,
Yeah.
wherever he goes. So that's what those lyrics mean, and we equated it, the meaning for our show, as us in on the train. We were always abiding by Wilford's law. Wilford is our God, and how can and we followed him like he's a religion, like he's other, he's kind of otherworldly, because his presence, he's never around, but like he's there, right, watching us, and we have to do the right thing for him. And so how could he do all these horrible things on this
Yeah.
train against us who love him so much? So that's kind of the equation of the song, at least to me. That's the
Yeah.
equation of the song and the meaning and the lyrics.
You talk about the relevancy of today. I mean, when you watch your series, you see what's happening in the world today too. This November is going to be a very, very important election. Would you just, people are, during this pandemic, people have been raising their voices, using their voices for all the injustices that are happening. Would you just tell our audience how important this election is going to be in November, and why people should vote, register, and vote?
It is incredibly important. Mainly, have some just for yourself and for your own, whether or not your person wins who you want to win, it is still important to get out there and be active in politics. And also something big, this election is huge, but also a huge thing is to double check your facts. If you see something on the internet and it makes you mad, double check the facts, read the article before you repost it, because a lot of
Yeah.
stuff is not right. And you're just going to feed into false, it's like all, everything that is happening on social media. There's good stuff out there that is true, but it's all among all of this false information. So, double check your facts. Make sure you go and you really research things before you just pop them off on your feed, because you don't know, how much of a snowball effect that will have and cause major confusion. And if you have posted it and then you realize it was wrong or fake or, misinformation or just a clickbait, it's harder to take it back
Yeah.
than it is, it's much harder to take it back than it is to just research before you repost something. So please, please, please research before you do a post. You got to take a minute. You can get angry, read the thing,
Yeah.
and then really look it up and make sure that it's true, and then repost it and then go for it.
Because Cherry Jones was just here with me and she said the same thing. Beware of the fake news. Read stuff first and, just put the right stuff out there. Which I think is really, really important.
Yeah. A lot of things are opinion pieces. A lot of things are built to get you angry. And they know that, it's common knowledge that anything that invokes anger and fear will be posted a lot more than something happy, so they're, so these things, they're just trying to get you to repost because that's how they're making their money. So just remember, something might be there just to get you angry. So I would definitely research it and then calm yourself through knowledge.
I love it. Thank you for that. Listen, back to Snowpiercer. What a dynamite cast you have.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. David is amazing. Jennifer's amazing. Allison Wright, Mickey Sumner. They're all, the cast, the list goes on. And they're all like, everyone individually is just a wonderful human being. And they really like assembled a stellar cast. Like everybody gets along. Everyone, we are a family at this point, which I've never experienced on a TV show before. It feels a little more like a Broadway kind of family feeling, when you get together and you're working and it's fun, it's a great group. And just everyone is so good. Everyone is just so good. And I had the privilege of having a bunch of scenes with Jennifer, who, I've never seen anything like that. I've never watched someone tap into something that is so painful and deep and seems so personal, and to just do it over and over again at 4:00 in the morning. I've never seen that before. It was so beautiful to watch. I learned so much. For me, this whole thing is a growing experience because I've not done a lot of TV. I've not done a lot of film. So I'm still kind of getting used to that, to the format, and still getting used to how different it is to act on TV and film, and to be with Jennifer and Allison, and to be acting opposite all these incredible women and people, David, and it's just like, and now Sean Bean, like it's just like I'm learning a ton. For me, this is just a total win.
That's great. You mentioned it felt like being the Broadway family. Many people were supposed to make their Broadway debuts this spring, and then the pandemic hit. And I hope they all get a chance to do that when Broadway comes back, or off-Broadway, or theater in general comes back bigger and better than ever. Your Broadway debut was Cats.
Oh, yeah.
What do you remember? I mean, listen, Broadway debuts happen only once. What do you
It's true.
remember about that?
Oh my God, I was beside myself. I was absolutely beside myself. It was just walking into the theater for the first time. I was like, "Whoa, I made it."
The Winter Garden.
The Winter Garden Theater, yeah, iconic.
Yeah.
I think, the Broadway debut is something that is so special. We have to remember that feeling for every Broadway show we do because each show is special and we're there. We're lucky. Every show we do, it's like we're lucky to be there. And it's gotta be every moment, every new show, every first preview, every opening night. It's gotta feel that way. It's gotta feel great. You've gotta feel that grateful, special feeling because I think about the people who were gonna have their Broadway debut and
Yeah.
then it was cut short, or the people who were supposed to be nominated and
Oh,
supposed to win Tony Awards this year, who have been working so hard for their career, their whole career just to get the acknowledgement and to get up there, and I think about if that had happened to me during, Hedwig, like it's tough. It's so hard. And there's going to be a huge backlog of shows coming in. So there's going to
yeah.
be more competition, more shows, like everybody trying to get the ball back going. So it's tough and it sucks. So I have so much empathy, sympathy, anything for my fellow performers and those who either were getting their Broadway debut or were in shows they were excited about that just got cut short or that were supposed to be nominated for Tony Awards or were the front runners or any of that, it was just stolen from them. And that's tough.
Yeah. You mentioned the Tony Awards. I mean, you won your Tony Award for your brilliant performance as Yitzhak in Hedwig and the Angry Inch. I mean, that had to have been a dream show for you. You and I talked a lot about this. I mean, you were obsessed with that show for years before it even came about for you, weren't you?
Yeah, oh yeah. I knew the show really well. When they announced it, I was like, I must be in that show. There is no other show I must be in. This must be my show. I pursued it like nobody's business. And I was and thankfully I got it. Um and I really put myself out on the line there. And but that's the kind of show I could put myself out on the line for. There's other shows where it wouldn't have been so appropriate, but for this show in general, it's a show that you can be creative with, and you can do wilder things than you would at a normal audition. So
Yeah, because just watching, I've seen everybody do that show. I saw all the Hedvigs off Broadway, everybody when they went in, everybody on Broadway, and watching you play Yitzhak, I was like, I know Lena. I could not see you in that at all. I'd watch you like, can I see a little bit of her? Just in my mind, I'm like, I couldn't.
thank you.
I saw none of you in that. But you also got a chance to play Hedwig when you were on the road with Darren Chris. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about a pinch me moment or, a full circle moment. What was it like taking on that role?
It was
Yeah.
great. I got to it was like writing my thesis that I had been studying for a year and a half. So, and I was grateful because Michael Mayer, he allowed me to find my way at first, and then really like we talked about um, what it meant doing the improv stuff, like we really we dove into it. I sat and I watched the show intently because I had to. I couldn't check out during the show, like I had to. So I watched and listened to everyone's performance, every show. Neil, Michael, Andrew, John, and then Darren. So I was able to kind of hear the show told multiple ways from different perspectives, which means that when you hear a line that you've heard over and over again said by one person, when you hear it said by someone else, sometimes they understand the line differently, and so they'll accentuate certain words differently. and then it gives a whole new meaning. So then it becomes this, oh, it means that too. Oh, and it means that too. So there's a lot of nuances that happen from performer to performer, and also over time. So I also got to watch these guys discover things in the moment while they were doing the show, and have like these aha discoveries. And so because they were discovering it, I was discovering it. And basically I had all this rehearsal without having
Yeah.
ever said any of the words. And so when we went into rehearsal, I was basically off book already. Not because I had been studying, but because I had listened to it for so long. It was like lyrics in my head. It was like I couldn't forget it.
What do you remember about your first performance on stage as Hedwig? Where
Nothing.
was it? Nothing. Okay, that's it. Most
Not a
people
thing.
tell me. Yeah.
Yeah, it was at the Golden Gate Theater in San Francisco. It was my dress rehearsal, there were a lot of people there, and I
Oh.
remember nothing. I remember being nervous and being like, "Can I get out of this?" Like right when I was backstage, I was like, "I gotta go. I gotta go. I don't want to be here." And then I don't remember anything else. But it
Well,
did feel like I was hit
uh,
by a truck afterwards. I was
when did
like,
you finally realize, like, oh, I can see through the colors now? Like, what performance could you be like, I'm
never,
here?
never.
Yeah.
I didn't get to do it that much. I think
Yeah.
I got to do it 8 or 9 times. And every time was a terror show. I was terrified right beforehand, and then I'd black out for the whole show. And then be like, "Oh my God, it's over." I did it. So, each time was kind of like putting myself in extreme danger and harm.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember anything. But I would love to give it a shot again. I'd love to do the show, but I'd do it off Broadway, and do my own kind of take on it. A different space, different production. So
Well, I
yeah.
have to tell you, everybody who I knew that saw you on the road thought you were phenomenal. And I'm not blowing smoke. I wouldn't have told you that. They thought you were sensational
Well, thank you.
because of the well, it's the history. I mean, you start out with the other role that you want, and then you realize this becomes a dream role for you, and you get to do it in San Francisco, where you grew up.
Yeah. It was very, very special. LA was awesome too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would like to try the show in a smaller venue,
Yeah.
because the 2 venues that we were in were gigantic.
Oh
And
yeah.
the Belasco was much smaller, but the Jane is even smaller. So,
Yeah.
and that's where, and it was developed in clubs and stuff. So I'd like to see the show. Like, I'd like to do the show in
Yeah.
a smaller venue where I can actually feel the audience more.
Yeah.
Uh and have that response more. I
Well,
love the show.
it'll
I'm
go
in
out
love.
into the world of Broadway World. I know
Yeah,
you love the show. They're all
I'm
gonna
in
be like,
love
yeah.
with the show. I think it's one of the best shows ever written. I think it's classic. It will never go out of style. The music will never go out of style. And even
Yeah.
though it is a period piece, if you think about it, it is a period piece because it is marked by history. Um, it'll never go out of style. That
Yeah.
show is timeless.
Yeah. You also made your feature film debut in the title role of Bex. Fabulous film. I mean, what did you enjoy the most about doing your film, your first big film?
Um,
I should ask you, what do you remember?
I mean, the fun thing is that I just got to kind of be myself, but more of a disaster.
Yeah.
They were like, "Hey, can you do the scene? Can you just be yourself?"
Yeah.
I was like, I can." And that was fun. That's like the first, it's, again, TV film, very different. You
Yeah.
play more to your own self than you
Yeah.
do to a character. And on Broadway, you play as a character. It's more transformative. It's far more amplified. And TV film, you really do take from your own self, your own
Yeah.
personality and stuff. So once I got kind of comfortable with the idea of like having to expose myself, like my own person,
Yeah.
to people, and also some of the scenes like were crazy. But once I got into that, I had a good time because I got to really relax, and and
Yeah.
just be myself, only kind of a worse version of myself.
Yeah. We're almost out of time, but there's a little area of like Broadway I want to talk to you about, because you sort of stood by and understudied for a while. I mean, you were Anytime Annie in 42nd Street. I mean, how cool was that tap dancing in that show and just being a part of that?
It was great. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm okay a tap dancer, so the fact that I got cast in that anyway
Yeah.
was like a miracle. Uh, but I had fun. I mean, the costumes were
Yeah.
amazing. That production was just
Oh,
beyond. I mean, you want to think of a big lavish Broadway production.
yeah.
That was it. That was it 100%. The costumes, the
Yeah.
scenery. I mean, it was at what was the Ford Center. I don't even know what it's called now. What is it? The Lyric? Is that what it's called now?
It's where Harry Potter is. Yep.
The Lyric. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and now, I mean, and that theater is just huge, and
Yeah.
so is the stage, and it's just like, yeah, that was when I stepped on that stage for the first time. I was just
Yeah.
like, wow.
And the curtain goes up and you see all your dancing feet. That was just that rush you heard of the audience underneath. You probably got the applause on your feet.
So fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Dracula. You stood by for Kelly O'Hara in that musical with Tom Hewitt and Kelly O'Hara. Did you go on for her?
No, never went on. She had food poisoning and she still came to work. I was like, why? But that's Kelly O'Hara, so she'll just do it. She doesn't want to,
Yeah.
it's that, I think thinking has changed a little
Yeah.
now. People are more like, I think maybe I should take care of myself instead of do a show.
Yeah.
But I was the same. I'm the same way. So I was like, cannot, because that's what we were taught. We were taught, do not miss a show. Do not miss a show, no matter what. No matter if you're throwing up in the back, if you're this, that, the other, if you've got a broken foot, do not miss a show. And so you put yourself in harm's way. You do not miss a show. But now I think things are changing. There's a different idea going around that may be a little bit more healthy for the performers, because 8 shows a week is so hard. It's really hard on your body.
But that was old school. That was old school.
Old
Stars
school,
going
yeah.
on, like whatever. But I wasn't sure if you'd gone on. And then Nicola, you were talking about in Kinky Boots. What a fabulous show. You had the best time in that show, didn't you? I mean, just the message of that show.
I did. I mean, my character was very isolated, so so I didn't get to have fun with everyone on stage. I was usually coming in with the
no one liked you.
downer
I mean,
moment.
the audience didn't like you. Like, oh my God, she's taking him away.
But originally my character was written like so well. She was awesome, and like I had this great song in the second act, and when we were in Chicago, Harvey was just like, we got to cut you down. I'm like, okay, that's fine. They're like, we need to really like Charlie. We really need to want him to go with Lauren. And I was like, okay, all right, that's fine. Eventually they cut the song, but I stuck with the show because I loved everyone involved. I mean, that was just a pure case of, I love you guys. And B, I loved the show. So I didn't care. I didn't care that like, my show went from half an hour to 10 minutes. I didn't care. I just loved the show, and I loved the message of the show, and I loved the costumes and the shoes and the fabulous people in the show and the audiences every night. And it was just really fun. So,
well, someone has to play that role. You're a really good actress. It might as well be you. We're like, here she comes again. She wants those shoes. Stay away from Charlie.
Just want the shoes.
It's been amazing for me to watch you grow, not only as an artist, but as a human. I mean, I've watched you from the very beginning when you came to New York. You and I have spoken over the years. I've been for many of your milestones, and it's been so great. But I want you to just mention the beginning of 2019, because those are two life-changing moments for you. You got engaged to Jonathan, and you were, I think, 3 years of sobriety. I mean, what did the beginning of 2019 mean to you, Lena?
It was all kind of a surprise. It wasn't planned out. I had all these plans for myself, and I was stressing myself out a lot when I was younger. I had been pressuring myself to get married at 30. And I didn't really know who I was. So to after the Tonys happened,
Yeah.
Hedwig was such a huge success that and I was also doing shows with my band at late nights after the shows. I would go and do a show with my band. So I was like burning the candle at both ends. Not only
Yeah.
that, I was using and drinking a lot because everybody was partying after the shows because it was a huge success. And that's what happens. You go to a lot of parties. Every time after the show, people are backstage. Everyone wants a drink, and it becomes routine. And I was kind of just falling apart at the seams because I was burning the candle at both ends, but
Yeah.
also running myself into the ground, and I wasn't doing anything positive for myself. So I finally decided that like I would try being sober for a month. And then after that month, I thought, well, let's see what happens after 3 months. I want to see what happens to my skin and my body.
Yeah.
And then after 3 months, I was like, oh, wow, there's some kind of mental clarity happening. And I was like, let's just keep going and I'll just see how long I can do this for. So there was no real pressure to be like, never,
Yeah.
no more, never again. No. It was more of like, well, what's going to happen? Like, what would happen if I stopped doing this? What would happen? And so there was a lot of mental clarity that came. And then I met Jonathan, and I had no idea, that this was going to be it. I thought I thought, oh, he's different, and I really like it. Oh, he's so different. I need to have him in my life, but I don't really care how. Like, I'll be his friend. Like, I don't care. I just need this positivity, this like whoever this is, because in our industry, we're so used to being down on ourselves and all the negative talk. That happens a lot in our business. A lot of people will put themselves down constantly, and I've seen it from so many of these people who I admire and love too. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why would you say that about yourself? And then I realized, oh, I do that too, because that's a learned thing that we learn
Yeah.
that in our business. That's what we do. And so Jonathan is always positive talk, and so he really taught me how to kind of re-rig my brain, and I just loved going on this journey with him. I never demanded the relationship, or it was just like, I love this right now,
Yeah.
and if in a little while like I don't love it, I can let it go, and that's fine. So sobriety really gave me that kind of mental clarity, to be like, if this doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
And I get to make the decision. So whereas before I thought, oh, if the person loves me, then they're the only person that's ever going to love me, so I have to hold on to them. And so finally, I realized, oh wait, I can make the decisions. I'm worth, this. If this doesn't work for me, I don't have to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. And the same thing can go for life and career and all kinds of stuff. If this doesn't work out for me, like I can say no. I can just be like, this isn't right. Friendships, it doesn't matter. You can actually just be like, I'm good. And that's okay. It's not a big deal. So I really learned all that through sobriety, and my life has changed immensely, for the positive. And I'm very, when I see someone is sober and they're talking about it on social, or they're celebrating an anniversary, I am like really
Yeah.
excited for them. And then I've also had people reach out, ask me about sobriety and if they should, and this and that. And it's a personal decision. It has to come from you. It cannot come from the exterior. You have to be the one who really wants to change your life, or change whatever it is that you want to change. So it has to come from you. You cannot do it for someone else.
Well, I have to tell you, you're an inspiration to many people, including myself, because I loved my red wine. I stopped drinking last November the same way. I'm like, you know what? I'll just stop for a week or two or whatever, because, and I was like, I don't miss it. And
Yeah.
there's a mental clarity, like you said. So I just want to let you know, there's many people out there watching what you do. So you may not think that, but there's a lot of people watching you. So I thank you for what you do.
Oh my God, That's amazing. Oh, I'm so
See?
proud of you. That's amazing. And it's so wild. You're
Yeah.
like, oh wow, I feel so good in the morning.
Totally. You and I used to party at parties.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I drank a lot of whiskey in my time.
I watched you drink whiskey and I liked my wine. But seriously, a lot of people, thank you for doing what you do. We are just about out of time. So I want to remind everybody once again, Lena Hall will be live this Friday night, August 14th at 9 p.m. with Lena Hall Obsessed, Alanis Morissette, exclusively here at Broadway World. Ticket for the concert only is $15. The VIP ticket is $40 to be in the Zoom room with her.
Oh yeah.
Extra performances afterwards, a virtual meet and greet. I mean, a party with Lena afterwards for $40. Tickets are available at BroadwayWorld Events. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for always catching up with me.
Yeah, of course. It's my pleasure.
And I love your whole background. I can only imagine what's behind you. I know that's your virtual background. You got the microphone going on. You got the lights going on. But you always did, even when you were doing your other earlier series, like, I'm just going to be cool up here and do these things. You always found a way to make everything work.
Thank you very much.
So listen, you stay safe. Love to your husband. I hope, you know I'm a big hugger. So I hope when I get to see you in person, when we're all back bigger and better, I can actually give you a big hug. Everybody stay safe and join Lena Friday night at Broadway World, 9 o'clock. Stay safe, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.